Hola a todos y bienvenidos a un nuevo ALG y bienvenidos a un nuevo vídeo en el que vamos a hacer una prueba, ¿vale? Joder, con la puta silla. Vamos a probar a, si os gusta, ¿vale? Este tipo de vídeos de hacer un vídeo largo, un poquito más largo, ¿vale? Pero que cubra todo un juego, ¿vale? Hoy vamos a jugar a The Stanley Parable o algo así, ¿vale? No sé cómo se pronuncia. Que básicamente, no sé de qué va, ¿vale? Me parece que no es de miedo, no lo sé, tampoco. Pero sí que es un juego que es de duración media de 40, más o menos, 40-50 minutos, ¿vale? Entonces, si os gusta este tipo de vídeos, vamos a darle a comenzar la partida. Si os gusta este tipo de vídeos que son un poquito más largos, ¿vale? Pero que cubren un juego entero, ¿vale? Pues podemos probar a hacer este tipo de vídeos, ¿vale? Si nos gusta, si queréis que hagamos mejor series, ¿no? Juegos más largos, pues ya vamos viendo.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Vale, no hay
Stanley worked for a company in a big
subtítulos.
building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok, pues ya estamos controlando. Más o menos por lo que he pillado de lo que ha dicho, es que nosotros somos un trabajador de una empresa, ¿vale? Que está en la habitación 427, en la que no tenemos absolutamente ninguna distracción, ¿vale? Simplemente hay un ordenador, papeles para trabajar y punto. No hay absolutamente nadie. Dejadme un segundo porque el juego está en español y quiero ver si hay subtítulos, ¿vale? Modo de pantalla, tal, para avanzado. No. Extras. Saves. Guardados, ¿no? Vale, sí, vamos a guardar. Achievement. No sé qué significa eso. Yo no lo voy a activar, por si acaso. Subtítulos, sí. Desactivado, normal. ¿Cómo que normal? Descriptivos. Ah, vale. No, normal. Vale, y supongo que el juego ya detectará que esto no sé. Ok. Pues eso, básicamente por lo poco que entiendo en inglés, vale, he entendido más o menos eso. Así que eso, vale. No sé cómo se interactúan, eso es con la F. Algo, os juro que. O sea, esta vez sí. O sea, hay muchas veces que yo empiezo los juegos y entiendo más o menos de lo que van. Entrar. Pero os juro que
All
este
of his
juego.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vale. Vale, dice que los compañeros. Ah, no, son todos los subtítulos. Gilipollas soy. Vale, pues al parecer alguien nos ha cerrado la puerta con llave. Creo que el juego no es de miedo, pero vamos, me da toda la pinta.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ah, nos está contando como la historia, ¿no? A ver, por aquí no se ve nada. Ok. Vale. Ese tiene el Facebook correcto. ¿Apaga el ordenador?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Ah, vale. Creo que el juego nos va a ir diciendo, no. Creo que el juego nos ha dicho, no toques nada porque no te sirve de nada. La historia no va a avanzar. Por mucho que toques. Yo hubiera visto todas las puertas, alguna estará abierta, digo yo. Para parecer nosotros somos Stanley. Stanley, ¿no? El sujeto Stanley. No sé
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
¿Qué dice esto? I hate Monday. Odio los Mondays, sí, odio los Mondays. Vale, nos ha dicho que no toquemos ninguna puerta porque no sirve de nada tampoco.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
A ver, yo siempre digo en los juegos, no me jodas que se me ha quedado sin batería la cámara. Joder. A ver, un segundo. One second, please. One second. A ver. Esto por aquí. Así. A ver, un momento. Por aquí, vale. Y esto lo pongo aquí. Y así. Ok. Vale, me vais a ver con un poco menos de calidad, pero es que la cámara se me ha quedado sin batería, o sea que voy a apagarla. Y estoy grabando ahora mismo con la cámara del ordenador, así que pues eso. Vais a ver un poquito más de feo, pero bueno, no pasa nada. Sigo siendo feo igualmente, no hay nada que cambie, ¿no? Ok, vale. Nos ha dicho el juego que entremos a la izquierda. No sé si hacerle caso. Siempre hay que hacer caso al juego porque el juego es muy interesante. Ah, me pensaba que era mi habitación, no. Me parece que son todas iguales. Okay.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ah, esa está abierta. Okay.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Sale cerrado, no. Vale, no me gusta.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay. Jefe. Jefe. ¿Estás ahí?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
No he visto el código. Es que no estaba prestando atención al código. ¿Puedo ver qué?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Que sí, ya se marca la combinación, pero ¿cómo la uso?
2845.
2845, pero ¿dónde? Ah. 845. Vale.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Vale, no voy a ir a la oscuridad. Me está dando mal rollo este juego. Os juro que me está dando mal rollo. ¿Me la veis? El problema es que me lo ha sugerido un amigo por Instagram. O sea que... ¿Sabes?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Yo simplemente ando, no mires atrás. ¿Sabéis que Amnesia me enseñó a no mirar atrás?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Amnesia me enseñó a simplemente andar y no mirar.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Vale, no estoy pillando el juego, o sea, somos un trabajador que...
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Porque al parecer el jefe nos
No,
controlaba
he
de alguna
refused
manera.
to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
No entiendo. ¿Qué hay que hacer, tipo? Dime una pista o algo. Vale, creo... Espera un momento. Hay como números. Creo que tenemos que ir tocando... Vale, este es el 5. Aquí es la sala. O de aquí venimos. De aquí venimos, no. No, de aquí no venimos.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
What?
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
¿Se acabó el juego?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vale. No sé qué te pasa.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
El tipo se está enfadando con nosotros. Que te juro que no estoy pillando. O sea, estamos como en una empresa. Ah, soy un trabajador de una empresa, pero no. Dice, no saltes. From cargo. Will cause death. O sea, pueden morir, ¿sabes?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you
¿Qué pasa si me tiro
all this
simplemente?
time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
¿Ella quién? ¿Quién está esperando? ¿Quién es ella?
That's her, Stanley. You need to...
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right.
No puedo moverme.
Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
¿Qué coño?
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife?
No puedo
They want
moverme,
to commit their life to you. I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Pero tú...
This is a very sad
No te
story
muevas,
about
¿vale?
the death of a man named Stanley.
En su teclado.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Presione C.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now
No voy a dejar
he's
adivinarte.
eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Oh. ¿Cero?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Oh, Dios mío! Son las 6:30.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Me ha dicho que no lo haga. Yo te hago caso porque no quiero que me des un susto. ¿Vale? Tipo. ¿Estás ahí, tipo? Tipo. ¿Estás ahí, tipo? ¿Qué hago? ¿Le doy o no pasa nada aquí? Le voy a dar, ¿eh? Le voy a dar.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Y volvemos a Ah, no, no.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ha cambiado la cosa.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Voy a entrar a la izquierda. No estoy entendiendo absolutamente nada. Solo sé que veía un
Yet there
susto
was
del
not a
fallo este
single
que estaba.
person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
¿Y qué pasa si voy
Coming to a
para-
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No, ¿os acordáis de que había un botón cuando terminemos el juego que ponía on y off? Vamos a ver qué pasa si le damos a on. Si me deja, claro. ¿Y esto qué es? Vale, el baño de... No puedo pasar.
Stepping into his
¡Jefecito!
manager's office, Stanley was
Hazme un
once again stunned to
aumento.
discover not an indication of
no puedo.
any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 284. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
No entiendo nada. Siento que en cualquier momento me va a dar un screamer el juego. Aunque no sea de terror como tal. No sé de qué es este juego. Eso es muy raro. Es muy raro. Es que me meto en cada fregado. Me meto en cada fregado.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Aquí pone escape. Escapar. Hay un pasillo largo y siento que me va a perseguir alguien. No, mejor me voy por aquí. Gracias. Es que quiero ver qué pasa si le damos al on. Porque ya sabemos que había un
The
botón.
lights
que
rose on
ponía-
an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
No sé, siento que este juego tiene muchísimas cosas y que yo la mitad no la quiero hacer. Es que... Uf.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an
Seguramente vosotros ya,
employee in the
ya
building,
conocéis este juego y lo habréis
Stanley's
jugado y
co-workers,
diréis,
the lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them,
Yo
eternally
no conozco
monitored
este
in
juego
this
de nada,
place
simplemente lo vi
where
por
freedom
Steam
meant
y
nothing.
dije, bueno, pues es el mismo.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Aquí nada. Aquí hay un 10. Aquí hay nada. Un 10 también. No sé. Aquí. 1, 2. El 3 estará. El 3. ¿Eso qué es? Porque las mesas simplemente hay botones. Vale. Vamos a ver el 3. Vamos a ver si este es el 3. Este es el 3, no, este es el 4. ¿Dónde está el 3? Number 3. 3, vale, aquí está el 4. No sé qué estoy haciendo, ni sé si va a funcionar, si no va a funcionar. Os juro que este juego no lo he visto yo en mi vida. O sea, que es un juego que me está pillando de sopetón todo. O sea, por eso digo que seguramente a vosotros lo conoceréis alguno y diréis, pues tengo si no es para tanto, si no es de miedo, ¿no? Pero no sé, me da mucho mal rollo este juego. Vale, 4 y 5 está aquí. Y ya no hay más números. Creo recordar con el número, ¿no? Ahí está el 10. Pero es que me parece que en todas las mesas está el 10. O sea que... ¿Eso qué es? ¿Hay números? Triángulo. Esos son 10. Estas mesas. 10 también. Nada. El botón se abre. No sé. ¿Y esto qué es? Consola de no sé qué, pero no va. Este de poco me sirve. Ahí no hay nada. 10. Siento que estoy haciendo el gilipollas. Porque sí, tengo la sensación de que no hay más números. Aparte de los que hemos tocado. ¿Y qué pasa si simplemente toco el 10? Porque no hay más números. Y aquí me parece que no puedo, ¿no? No, esto ya es lo de... A ver, voy a probar en tocar simplemente el 10. A ver qué pasa. Un 10, el que sea, me da igual. No pasa nada. Esto lo hemos tocado, no sé, tengo miedo. Pues no sé, chicos, vamos a darle a Alon de aquí. A ver qué pasa si le damos a Alon. Porque sabemos qué pasa si le damos a Alon. Pero a Alon no.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself? Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you is quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? One solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a
Tipo, ¿por qué
disappointment.
no te callas un
But here's a
poquito?
spoiler for you. That timer
Mierda,
is
este es el cuadro.
mechanical to keep the
No,
action
no, no, no,
moving
no me da
along.
tiempo.
It's just seconds ticking away to your
No me da
death.
tiempo.
You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to
No me da
watch you
tiempo.
for every
¿Dónde está
moment that you're
el
powerless.
Number three,
To
number
see
three.
you made humble.
Number 3, este es el 3.
This is not a
Vale,
challenge.
vale.
It's a tragedy. You
Number
wanted
cuatro.
to control this
No me da
world,
tiempo,
that's
tío.
fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go
Corre,
peacefully?
tipo, no puedo correr.
Another choice. Make it
12,
count.
11,
Or don't.
10.
It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke.
¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué
And
pasa?
believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Ok. No estoy entendiendo nada, te lo juro. Pero este juego es que nunca se termina, ¿o qué coño pasa con esto? A ver, sé que sabía que es un juego largo.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he...
Vale, vamos a... La partida se encuentra en... Vale, vamos a dejar el vídeo por aquí, ¿vale? Hemos jugado este juego, al Stanley Parable. No pillo el juego, no sé lo que hay que hacer. Siento que avanzo en la historia y que como que hay muchas cosas por hacer y no sé, me da mucha pereza. Había ahí una salida que ponía escape. No sé qué pasará si llegamos por ese pasillo, ¿vale? Pero bueno, si queréis más de este juego, darle al me gusta. Intentaré ver qué coño es lo que tenemos que hacer, ¿vale? Y pues nada, que nos vemos en el próximo vídeo, chicos. Un saludo. Chao.